Welcome everybody to another edition of the CineFiles Extended Cut, the show where we break down the biggest stories of the week as covered in the original CineFiles and some other stories that didn't make the cut, as per usual, guys. So if you like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more. I am your host, Matt. We have Justin. Phoebe has finally returned. It feels like it's been forever. Welcome back.
It's no longer just the boys.
The alpha female is back.
Whoa. Shout out to that horrible comment that was in there last week.
It was really funny.
And then we have beta male Liam at the end of
Beta
the
man number
table.
3.
Unreal. That was not a nice comment. But it's nice that we're finally all together, guys. So how's it going? Are we doing well?
Pretty good.
Very
I'm
good.
glad to see all my friends again.
I'm starting to get so used to your intro that I can kind of like bob my head to it, like.
Yeah.
It's
You
good.
should all just mouth it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
as I
That
as I
would
do
not
it.
be creepy at all.
No.
Yeah.
I want to know if I could do it, but I wouldn't. I don't want to try.
We probably all could. We've memorized it by this point. Anyways, let's talk about what we've been watching on the big or small screen. I guess I'll throw it over to you, Justin, first, since you are the first to my left. Anything interesting?
That's the only
bad?
reason I get to go first.
I mean, okay, fine. Liam, at the end of the
No,
I'm
it's my
joking.
turn.
I'm joking. Anything good, bad?
Yeah, I went to
interesting?
go see The Incredibles 2 finally.
Oh.
That movie is great. It's delightful. I felt like a kid again. There was a lot of children in the audience. It's been a while since I was in a movie theater with just like 98% child population.
Did you go like late at night?
No, we went and saw the 7 o'clock.
Oh, so it was like you
Child
were home
safe
by
time.
bed. You were home by bedtime.
Yeah, I got a good night's sleep after that, so that was delightful.
Nice.
But yeah, no, The Incredibles 2 is so much fun.
Nice.
The one thing that stood out to me were the action sequences, which were better than a lot of like big budget superhero movies.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, the
Damn.
action sequences and the way that the powers were used. I saw with my girlfriend, who I dragged to a bunch of superhero movies, and she's always like, the action sequences go on for so long, like
Yeah.
they're so boring. Even she was like, I was on the edge of my seat. They're really used really well. So
The villain looks really cool.
interesting villain.
Not
I'm not
cool?
going to go into it, but interesting.
Avoiding the
interesting
spoilers.
choice.
Okay.
Maybe when the spoiler embargo lifts in like 6 months or whatever, we can talk about
In
the
6
villain.
months.
But go see it if you haven't seen it. It's great.
My question for you, I'm always afraid to go to the movie theaters and have it packed with children, just because I'm afraid they're going to make so much noise. Was that the case?
No, because it was like a few weeks out. It came out
Okay.
a couple weeks.
Yeah,
like I'm
right.
sure if I had seen it like
Opening
as soon as it
weekend.
came out at that time of week,
Yeah.
yes, it would have been. But it was just like a lot of kids. Yeah.
Okay, fair. Phoebe, you've spent a lot of time away from the show, so you probably watched a lot.
I was gone for 1 week, but yes.
Yeah,
Talk
that's
about
a long
20
time.
movies right now.
I did. I actually went to go see Jurassic World, which is what I'm choosing to talk about this week because we had this sort of conversation where I was like, I still want to see it, even though you guys said that it was bad because I'm sure it's good. It was terrible. It
I was
was one of the
hoping you'd
worst
come-
movies I'd ever seen, honestly.
Really?
That bad?
Yes, like it was like it felt so disjointed. It was just it failed to capture any of the magic of the first one in this series.
Yeah.
I thought it was such a frustrating movie, and I could not wait for it to end. The whole time I was just like, I want to leave. I want to go home. Like, and I couldn't sleep because it was so loud. But yeah, it was terrible.
couldn't
It was
sleep.
terrible. Yeah.
Have you seen the first one?
You mean Jurassic
Jurassic
Park?
World? No, Jurassic World.
Yes, I've seen the first one.
And you liked this one less?
Yeah.
All right.
Liam, please elaborate.
What is that supposed to mean?
The
He
first
just
one
shot
is, I
you
think
a
the first
bad
one.
look.
I think Jurassic World is way worse.
I think that's an unpopular opinion.
I think it's popular in my books.
Well,
Your books are
to
wrong.
your circle of friends, I think like a lot of people like that movie. It
No.
was good for what it was. It was a good action movie.
Yeah.
It had some cool action sequences. It was a good story. This one was like 15 different stories that were all extremely boring.
I think for me, it's like I'll reiterate what I said was it 2 weeks ago, where I think like at the very least this one has a tone, like a consistent tone, whereas the first one is just like
a tone of
nothing.
terrible boringness. That's the tone.
agree to disagree.
Yeah, I feel that Liam, like, he comes off as he low-key likes it, but I think he secretly just loves it.
I don't.
But he's
love
afraid
it.
to admit it. No, see, look at that smirk.
He's blushing.
A year from now, he's going to be
I-
like
I-
in defense of.
No, 'cause when I
Jurassic
went in that movie, I hated Jurassic World, so like I was like, I'm gonna hate this movie, but I came out of it enjoying some things. But it is a bad movie.
Okay, well, you have terrible
I do have
opinions.
terrible
That's
taste.
a terrible taste. Yeah.
So did you watch anything this past week that you did love then?
I rewatched a movie that I watch every few months.
Good, I'm glad.
because I think it's probably the greatest comedy of all time.
Oh,
I
Superbad.
watched Wet Hot American Summer
Oh,
because
okay.
it's been a very wet hot American summer in Montreal.
I guess. Yeah,
Interesting
yeah.
angle.
There's been some.
We had a giant heat wave
Heat
last
wave.
week.
It was very muggy.
So I felt inspired to watch that movie.
Yeah.
I laugh so hard at that movie every time. I think they throw as many jokes as possible at the wall, and I would say that like 99% of them stick.
Yeah.
And it's really refreshing to watch a comedy where like they don't really care about story. It's just like, how many jokes can we cram in?
Yeah.
And that's really what I go into a comedy expecting.
Totally.
You know, just like how many times can I laugh in this like hour and a half span?
It's like off the wall comedy. My favorite scene is the ridiculous chase scene. Oh my god, it's the
so
best.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. And like the Wet Hot American Summer universe is like one of my favorite things ever with the 2 TV shows
They've
or
done a good
miniseries.
job with those
The shows were
yeah.
great.
I really hope it returns.
Yeah.
about
I
you?
as well watched a comedy. I actually just watched it yesterday. I watched Pop Star Never Stop Stopping for the first time
Oh
yesterday.
my god.
It is
Hilarious.
So good.
So good.
Underrated. No one really
So
talked about it when
underrated.
it came
Very
out.
underrated.
I've never seen it.
I think maybe that's why it like took me so long to watch it. But hilarious, great jokes.
It is in that vein where it's like they're throwing as many jokes at the
Totally.
wall as
Yeah,
possible.
great
and
songs, too.
So many of them stick.
Yeah.
He's so good, Andy Samberg.
Yeah.
Love
So that was what you watching. But next week we're going to do things a little bit differently, aren't we, guys?
Yes.
In honor of the new Mission Impossible movie Fallout, which is coming up, we're all going to watch the first one, and we're all going to just talk about it in the first segment next week. So
And we invite you all to watch it as well, so
Yes.
you can comment, let us know what you thought.
Yes.
Have a big old Mission Impossible 1 discussion.
please do. So that's your homework for the weekend, guys, or for the week. You have some time.
You got
Next
time.
Friday.
Yeah.
Be there, be square.
Yeah. So we're going to take a tiny break, but then we're going to come back and hit you with the 3 biggest stories of the week.
Hey guys, Rebecca and Dan here. Guess what?
What?
We have a long overdue update to our Watch Mojo merch. That's right. All new t-shirts with all new designs that show off everything you love about Watch Mojo.
What does that mean? Well, you guys have very passionate opinions about pretty much every topic we cover, so why not wear that on a t-shirt?
Are you a movie buff? Can you rattle off your top 10 favorite movies with pride? Then you should definitely own a t-shirt that shows that off.
Or maybe you're a video game fan. You can wear your love of PC gaming on a t-shirt.
Superhero superfan? Ask me about my top 10 favorite comics is for you.
We've recently partnered with Amazon to create a brand new merch page where you can select your favorite t-shirt with a click of a few buttons. Head over to the link in the descriptions below and you can check out our first few designs. They're pretty sweet.
And the best part about this is the possibilities are endless. In true Watch Mojo fashion, we're actually asking you guys to vote on what designs you want to see next.
You'll also find a second link to a voting page where you can vote on your own t-shirt designs and upvote the ones you already like.
I cannot wait to wear this t-shirt out to annoy/impress my friends with my superior ranking of 80s movies.
Anyway, let us know in the comments if there's other merch you'd like to see us make, and see you next time.
Okay, we are back, and the next story we're going to talk about is Joaquin Phoenix and the Joker movie. We had talked about it previously in past shows. It had been rumored, but it is finally a go. The actor put pen to paper, signed the deal. It's happening. It's going to be shot in September. And the interesting thing about this, I think, for me personally, is the budget they said is going to be $55 million, which of course is a lot of money. But then you compare it to other superhero movies, for example, Suicide Squad, that budget was $175 million.
And that movie was terrible, so.
And it was terrible, yeah.
And it was terrible.
I mean, some people loved it. But I mean, we all thought it was garbage. But I thought it was very interesting that there was such a big discrepancy in kind of the budgets there. And that on top of it, it's going to be, the director said it's going to be like a dark experimental tone and be very much a crime drama. So I just want to ask you guys, what do we think of the small budget? What do we think of the tone? What are your impressions of this project as a whole?
Very excited about this, especially Joaquin Phoenix is fresh off of You Were Never Really Here, which
Yes.
none of you guys have seen, but I recommend it. It's amazing. And like having a lower budget, well, like $55 million is not a low budget by any means, but having this kind of budget where it's like a more toned down one,
Yeah.
I can see them taking a tone that is so drastically different. I mean, it'll probably be, crime drama sounds very similar to the Dark Knight trilogy.
That's I hate to compare it to that, but it is like the first thing that popped into my head to, you know, like kind of more grounded in reality a little bit. Obviously dark and experimental. So yeah, what do you guys think?
I think that this brings up the same question that the Venom movie has been getting recently, which is, can you have a Venom movie without Spider-Man? Likewise, can you have a Joker movie without Batman? I think there's such an interesting dynamic between those two characters. I
Right.
think that's like part of what makes the Joker so interesting is that he has to play off of Batman as a character of like justice and like these boundaries and these rules. I think that Phoenix's performance might be enough to make this movie stand on its feet. However, I think something will be missing by making it only a Joker movie. That's not to say anything about the quality of the movie. I still think it could be a great movie, and I believe in Joaquin Phoenix as a very capable actor. I'm just worried that in removing the dynamic that makes that character so interesting, they're going to be losing something pretty
Do you
important.
think he's going to have some sort of antagonist in the movie? I mean, it must have to.
Commissioner Gordon? Maybe
I mean,
some
that'd be
sort
interesting.
of some sort of police force.
J.K. Simmons?
J.K. Simmons. Well, I think they're really going to try and be like, this is not the DCEU. This is its own thing. I think the fact that there's another Joker movie coming out at this like probably not that far along after means that this is going to be very much like on its own, which I think is a smart decision. Why not go in that route if you know that like you've already established a tone for the DCEU? You can kind of do something different and interesting.
Yeah. I'm hoping that this is sort of like a Logan type thing. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that would be a really interesting like narrative to follow. I also think, like you said, like Joaquin Phoenix is coming off like a slew of amazing movies. He's just like such a talented actor.
Yeah.
And he also has like this, you know, I think everybody knows that he's kind of a weird guy. He has like a bit of a darkness to him. And I think that that will be on full display in this movie. And I think that that is going to be good. It also will obviously invite comparisons to Heath Ledger's Joker.
Oh, for sure.
But I think that Joaquin, if anybody, he can do it. He can do a good job.
Yeah, I agree. Dude's a great actor. I just want to bounce back a little bit. Do we think that there's going to be zero mention of, well, maybe not mention, but that Batman won't appear in this movie at all?
I think he has to be mentioned at some point.
Yeah,
I'm
mentioned
sure
for
they
sure.
have
Yes,
the
Like-
like mentioned. I think it would be weird to introduce him as like a figure within the narrative, in so much as then it becomes the Batman show, right? It's like who's playing Batman, especially considering all the speculation about who will be continuing on as Batman, since Ben Affleck has expressed his trepidations about moving forward with the character. He's not exactly signed on for the rest of time, as many people would have hoped. I think that it would actually, you either make a Joker movie and don't mention Batman, or if Batman is involved, it's kind of stops being a Joker movie.
Is it weird that I almost can't even imagine like Joaquin Phoenix acting alongside Ben Affleck as Batman? Like I feel like it's like would be two different.
They're like on two
universes. Like,
different
they're two different
levels,
levels for sure.
Interesting.
I think it's interesting, like the Logan comparison that you brought up, because I think like comic book movies and superhero movies now, they've done the superhero thing or like the comic book thing for so long that now it's almost like they have to kind of choose a genre and run with it. You know what I mean? Like with Logan, it was like that Western like drama. I mean, like Deadpool was like they went full on comedy. Even like Ant-Man and the Wasp went full on comedy. You know what I mean? Like it can't just be like we can't have movies like Iron Man where it's like this is a superhero movie, because like I think like that basic tone is just like doesn't cut it anymore for people.
Yeah.
Like I think
Interesting.
Yeah. We had compared it to The Dark Knight previously, or at least the dark experimental tone, which worked incredibly well for that trilogy. I don't think anyone can really argue that. And DC for the longest time tried to kind of emulate that, with the Batman v Superman, all the kind of why am I blanking on his name right now? That director, Zack Snyder style. And it didn't really work. Are we kind of worried that they're trying to tackle this type of tone again?
like what do you mean, like the Dark Knight tone?
Yeah,
kind of?
exactly.
I think it works better for a Joker movie than it does for a Superman movie.
For sure.
Yeah,
That's a
for
very
sure.
fair point.
I think
Okay,
that was the big misstep, is that they tried to fit other characters into that dark, edgy box that just didn't belong there.
Yeah.
So I think that it makes sense. Like, this is actually one project where an R-rated dark tone makes perfect sense because of the nature of the character.
Yeah.
So I think it actually works in their favor.
yeah.
It almost like, I'm trying to think, this may be a little too off topic, but like, do you think like a like standalone Joker Heath Ledger movie would have worked?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I do.
Oh, for sure.
I do. I think that would have been, I wouldn't want it to be like a prequel. Like, I really don't care where he
started,
came from or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think like the fact that at the end of that movie, he is captured, he's not killed or anything.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think that had history gone a different way, we would have seen more of him, maybe in the form of the next movie in that trilogy, or maybe as a standalone movie, and I think that would have been really great.
I think what works so well about his character is like all the stories he tells about his past are like so ambiguous, right? I
Right.
think,
yeah.
you would have had to do it afterwards.
And it's interesting. You had touched upon it before, or just now. There's an origin movie being made as well on the Joker with Jared Leto. So there's just so much
insane.
Joker, yeah. And the Jared Leto one, I don't know if anyone's really asking for it, but
I
Warner
think there
Brothers
is probably
and-
some people asking for it.
There are some people asking
Yeah.
for it, but I think we can all agree, like, my interest is way higher for this than the Jared Leto
definitely.
Yeah,
stuff.
I would agree.
I'm way more into this.
Yep. I want to know if you guys are excited for this one as well. Neill Blomkamp, he came out with a great movie. District 9 was his first feature.
Yep.
And it was amazing. Nominated for Academy Awards. Not just a sci-fi movie. It touched upon a bunch of other themes, you know. It was tremendous. And he's kind of like, ever since then, kind of dipped down. His last movie it was Chappie. It was 2015.
Yeah.
Not very good.
It was a good movie.
You liked
What's
it?
wrong with that movie?
Sell it, 'cause it was garbage.
It was fun. It was fun. It was a fun. Okay, fine.
Dee Antwoord in
Dee
there.
Antwoord.
Yeah,
Hugh
not the
Jackman.
best.
Terrible decision.
It was fine. It was not a terrible movie.
Okay, it might not have been terrible, but it wasn't good. It wasn't
right.
District 9
Fair
level.
enough.
yes.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And he's had kind of like an interesting career trajectory since then. He was supposed to do an Alien movie with
Right.
Ridley Scott, but then he kiboshed that in favor of Prometheus, or was it the one after that?
It was the most recent one.
Yeah. Anyways, it's been a rough go for Neil, unfortunately, who is also half Canadian. So
Really?
just little shout out to that. But his next project, it might boost him back up into the kind of mainstream stratosphere, if you will. He's gonna do RoboCop. MGM is doing another RoboCop. What do we think?
This is a really good fit. I think especially because like the first RoboCop has so many like deeper themes, like political themes and stuff like that, and like we've shown through District 9 and like even Elysium, and I guess maybe Chappie, I haven't seen
Yeah,
it, but
even Chappie too. Yeah,
has like I think he knows how to like mix that like sci-fi with like something to say
Yeah.
really well. And
Totally.
I think he'll kill it, especially since like that last RoboCop remake was just like they took all the wrong aspects of RoboCop and just like made it this like crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the Rotten Tomato score, not that the audience will probably care about Rotten Tomatoes, but it does have like a 49%, which isn't very good at all. It did rake in $242 million at the box office though, and this one is supposed to be kind of like a continuation of the remake. It was written a while ago. It was supposed to be kind of like a sequel to the original 1987 version.
Right.
So they're continuing the story. It's not like a reboot or a remake. They're continuing that story. You touch upon it, Liam. Do we think it's the right story / kind of franchise for Neil to kind of tackle? I kind of agree with Liam, but I wanna know what you guys think.
I think it's a really interesting like trend right now to make sequels to old movies that like kind of ignore the other sequels.
Yeah.
Like we're seeing it with Halloween, where in the trailer they made it very clear like this is not a sequel to like the 7th Halloween movie.
Yeah.
We're like going back to the very beginning. I think that's a really interesting way of looking at things, in so much as you kind of can disregard all the weird changes that have come along the way from
all the past
Right.
mass sequelization of all of these franchises.
Yeah.
At the same time, RoboCop didn't necessarily work the last time. I think this will have a completely different angle, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'd be skeptical going into it just because I know that what may have worked in the 80s, right? The RoboCop was in the 80s. I think may not necessarily have the resonance it has now, but Phoebe, what do you think? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I've voiced this many times. I find it very annoying when they make sequels to movies that nobody asked for.
This
I
is
think
true. You're a
because
hater.
of brand recognition, this movie will make a ton of money no matter what. I just don't really understand the motivation, I guess, because I think like movies that were made, a long time ago, I think part of their charm is like their campiness, and it's not the same nowadays. They try to modernize everything, and I think certain things work in certain eras because of the lack of CGI or the campiness of it all.
Yeah.
And I just don't really understand any of this trend at all. I really don't.
That's
understand
fair.
it.
I mean, the 87 version, you watch clips from it, or you watch the movie and you see him moving and he's like literally walking like a robot, terrible like jarring movement.
Yeah.
And then in the remake one, he's smooth,
It's like
super
the
clean.
Transformers, like sleek shine.
Yeah,
to 'em.
exactly.
I really hope they keep the R rating though, because like that's a lot of what makes the original so good for me. Is like it's so brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, but like in a crazy like over the top way that like doesn't
But I
don't
just
know.
feel like they won't, because I think the point of making these movies is to make money. I don't think that it's to like,
Okay.
Wide
appease
audience.
people from a wide audience, because we saw with like Blade Runner 2049, they made like, whatever it was, a sequel, they added to that universe, and it was so niche, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that in that way, not that the movie wasn't good or anything, but it's just unsuccessful at the box office because it was so niche. So these movies are trying to make them for as wide an audience as possible. So like, I highly doubt that they're going to make it like super gory and like intense, because they want people who are under the age of 13 to be able to see it as well.
They got to sell those toys.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that, because was District 9 rated R?
Yeah.
Because there are some scenes there, you see some of
People
the
exploding.
prawns. I know that's the derogative term to call them, but they like, you see them testing weapons and shooting them, and they explode, and so it's interesting that you think that, because I'm kind of under the impression it will be R-rated.
Okay.
It kind of harkens back to when Neill Blomkamp was at his best in District 9, so it kind of gives him that freedom to just be, as balls to the walls as he wants
Yeah.
to
I
be.
also
kind
think
of.
people were really upset when they announced that the last RoboCop remake was PG-13. So maybe like they'll learn from that, and they'll be like,
maybe,
all right,
yeah.
maybe
That's
there is
a
like an
very good
audience, like the
point.
best audience for this movie is like a rated R.
Yeah.
I just think that's like a huge consideration, like to they don't want their movies to be R-rated, because then a lot of people can't see
Yeah,
them.
I
you
know.
No,
and
for
then
sure.
It
Yeah.
turns a lot of people off. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But at the same time, I guess you also want to appease like the diehard fans of this franchise.
Because if you alienate the people who actually care about the name itself, then
That's
it's a
true.
lose-lose, right?
For sure.
So there's a lot of interesting levels to this. Neil's finally making a comeback. I mean, it's his first feature since Chappie, which was in 2015.
I know he's been doing
so-
some stuff, like some indie stuff, or like he's been working on his own company.
Yeah, he has his own production company. I think he's worked like on a lot of shorts and like digital kind of stuff. But this is going to be the first time he's actually taking
Which is
on
exciting,
a Hollywood
yeah.
feature in years. So hopefully he gets back into good graces of Hollywood. I mean, District 9 is one of my favorite sci-fi movies. So we'll see. Going on to another sci-fi or fantasy story. It's Star Wars. Can't get away from Star Wars, but I think
It's always there.
Star
it's
Wars.
always there. But I think some fans will be pretty excited with this, especially considering the controversies that were surrounding Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian. But Billy Dee Williams, the OG Lando Calrissian, is going to make an appearance in Star Wars Episode 9.
So cool.
So the
Yes.
Skywalker
Cool.
saga is bringing back another iconic character, because they're killing every other one.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It's I think this is super cool. I was really excited by this news, because I think part of Lando's charm is that even in the original movies, like, he's not the clear-cut good guy. Like, that's often attributed to Han Solo, but Han Solo at the end of the day is a good guy.
Yeah.
You never question that, but with Lando, it's true.
Yeah, he's always on the edge, right?
Yeah.
But Lando created that not trope, but that narrative element that was repeated in this new one.
Yeah.
Where
Right.
he's like the betrayer, right? He's the
Yeah.
Judas.
He's the sneak. Yeah.
I think that's like super interesting. And like, he kind of gets his redemption. Obviously, he plays a big part in Return of the Jedi. But I think having him come back and seeing what he's been up to, like, that's ultimately what this trilogy at first was supposed to be, right? It's like, what have these characters been up to? And I think that's part of why a lot of people have been disappointed by these movies, is because good for them, they've focused on their new characters, but they've kind of like pushed the other characters to the side a little bit. And I think having Billy Dee in there is going to make a lot of people happy.
I think
Go
that's
ahead,
their big debate is like, do we continue to push this story, or
Yes.
do we do what the fans want with like our old characters, right? It's like they don't really know. I feel like they don't really know which direction they should go with it, and like, I mean, the Force Awakens was like, let's push these new characters, but then Last Jedi was.
I totally agree, because Ryan Johnson with The Last Jedi.
Sorry, it was the other way around. Yeah, The Last Jedi, they were like,
Ryan
just
Johnson's like,
screw whatever.
you know what? I respect the past, but this is time for Star Wars to become something new and fresh, and it's time to, literally they say it in the movie, it's time to kill the past. And I thought that was really cool. A lot of people didn't. But then with this one, with JJ coming back, it seems like he just wants to bring back that old flavor, if you will, you know, and kind of bring back that very thing that was missing from The Last Jedi.
I think this next movie is really going to sell it for whether people think that these sequels were a good idea or not.
I'm really curious of the direction, just because of if you're if you're Lucasfilm and you're J.J. Abrams, who do you listen to, right? Because
sure.
The Last Jedi was like critically loved. It
Yeah.
has a amazing score on Rotten Tomatoes. The discourse around it from like a certain audience, like we all like that movie.
Yeah.
But then at the other side, and I don't want to diminish people's opinions about the movie, because if you don't like it, that's totally valid.
Yeah.
But people that don't like it are very vocal about it. So
yeah.
I don't know who do you pander, and maybe pander is the wrong word, but do you lean into that side of the audience and you're going, okay, hang on, let's try and backtrack and return maybe to the side that those people want to see.
Yeah.
At the cost maybe of the critical reception that the last movie got. I don't know. It's a tough position to be in.
I think that like sort of leads into what that I was going to say about this, was that this feels like fan service, like putting Lando in this movie, because
interesting.
you know, there was that exec who said like, oh, we're going to make a Lando movie. And then she was like, oh, wait, no, we're not going to make a Lando movie. And people were like, well, are you going to make a Lando movie? And they were like, we have to do something with Lando. Let's throw him in this movie. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like fan service. And I think that like, you know, Star Wars, whether or not they are pandering to their fans, that's what it seems like here.
I completely agree. I think JJ 100% respects Ryan and the decision he wanted to bring it into. I think he's going to take elements of that and create like a story that is new and kind of deviates from the past. But like you mentioned, I think I don't know if he's afraid, but he does want to appease that portion of the fans.
Well, at a certain
so that's
point,
why
you
I
have to
Right.
appease the fans.
I don't
That's,
know if
that's
that's
what's keeping you afloat, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan Johnson doesn't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's his take, and
Yeah.
that's fine. But
J.J. Abrams has like the toughest job in the world right now. I would not want to be him.
Totally
Yeah.
agree with that.
He's yeah.
Yeah, I mean
rich,
the jury's still out on
fine.
what kind of role Billy Dee will play as Lando in this movie. I think we're all pretty excited to see it though. Whether it's fan service or not, I guess we will see. So those were the three biggest stories of the week, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Hope we didn't annoy you. I thought that was pretty good conversation. So we're gonna take. No, we're good.
you
We're good.
annoy me, but
So we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna come back and get to the stories that didn't quite make the cut. The cutting room floor.
Hey guys, Rebecca here to take you on a little trip. Watch Mojo is your authority on ranking, and now we're bringing that expertise to travel with our latest channel launch, Mojo Travels. We know you're not noobs when it comes to seeing the world, so over the next little while, we'll be rolling out videos on next level travel hacks, craziest Airbnbs if you want to sleep in a tree, or tips to travel with your dog. If you want to check out content that's live right now, head over to Mojo Travels to see the best way to spend 24 hours in a given city, how to eat your way through a certain location, or how to find those hidden gems in a place that you visited a million times. I like to travel like a local whenever I can to find those really unique experiences, like a really cool karaoke bar or a really tasty pastry. Hint, it may involve getting lost. But if that's not your jam, you can just stick to the airport. Some of them are like destinations unto themselves. Now, if only I can get them to send me places. Safe travels.
Welcome back, everybody, to the CineFiles Extended Cut. If you want to check out the show as an audio podcast, you can do that on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. It's time for the cutting room floor. The three stories that didn't make the cut, and we're going to start things off with a new trailer that dropped, and I thought it looked absolutely amazing. Two actresses I really love, Saoirse Ronan, Margot Robbie, in the first trailer to Mary, Queen of Scots.
loved it.
You're getting flushed
No,
over
yeah,
there.
it was good. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
It was a great trailer.
Yeah, I mean, like Saoirse Ronan and
You
Margot
gotta
Robbie
say it
are-
with an
yeah,
accent.
Saoirse
Saoirse Ronan.
are both on top of their game right now.
Like
I
a
would
power
say.
couple, yeah.
Like a power couple, yeah.
I think it was about time that we see them in a movie together.
Yeah.
And this looks amazing. Margot Robbie looks to be giving a crazy performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
Saoirse
of,
too,
like-
but
Saoirse, I think.
Saoirse more in her wheelhouse though. It's a
Yeah.
little more undertones.
She's doing
Yeah.
her regular accent, right?
Yeah.
almost, yeah.
I'm calling it now. This is going to win an Oscar for makeup, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
They managed to make Margot look pretty bad,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Margot Robbie has been doing this thing lately where she just takes movies where she has to undergo this huge physical transformation, which I think is like
Yeah.
huge Oscar bait in my opinion.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people love that. The Academy loves that.
Yeah.
And like this movie is giving me life. Like Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie together. Like I'm not a huge fan of Margot Robbie. Like honestly, I just think she's just okay. Like she's
Yeah.
beautiful and she's exceptional, but she's not on the same level as Saoirse Ronan. And I
agree,
think
for
this
sure.
pairing is going to really bring out like a different side of her, and she's going to be at her A game because she's like Saoirse Ronan is like unquestionably like one of the best actresses out there
I
right now.
agree.
Well, like-
this might be the year she wins an Oscar. Who
Oh
knows?
God, I hope
I
so.
hope so. Yeah, she was like a better actress than most like adult actresses are
Yeah.
at like 13 years old.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
incredible. And I just like, it's also, I don't know, it seems kind of like a feministy movie, you know? Like, and
for
I
sure.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's that tension, but in the trailer, they keep saying, like, don't let these men who are beneath you, you know, control you and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I think that that's like, it's such a good moment in time to release this film. And
Yeah.
I think everybody's going to really rally behind
There's
that.
I'm not usually a fan of like these like hair and makeup period pieces with the big gowns and stuff.
Yeah.
I tend to tune out for those. But one of
the
my
other cheek.
favorite movies, turn the other cheek. One of my favorite movies of all time is Amadeus, and this gave me
Okay, yeah.
Amadeus vibes. Not in the fact that like it's a musical, just in the fact that like it seems very stylized. Like they're using all those elements. Like there's that great shot that you pointed out in the trailer of Margot Robbie with her legs open after the pregnancy scene,
Yeah.
and there's just ribbons, red ribbons, and it's like
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of interesting visual stuff in the trailer already, and it's the director's first feature. He's a stage director, so like to me, that I'm super interested in seeing what he can do and what he brings to the table. Just
I think
having
it's
worked
I think it's a she, isn't it?
Is it a she?
I think it might be a she. Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
That
I
would make a lot
apologize.
more sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing, similar to the way I felt about Jackie. That movie
Oh,
came out
right.
a few years ago,
Yeah.
where like this could easily be like, you know, like a King's Speech, where it's just like so like Oscar bait.
eyes gloss over
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what you're getting. But like
Yeah.
I find there's this trend recently that like they're doing these period pieces, but like in such an interesting way and like heavily stylized, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like come up with like this indie movie phenomenon that's going on right now, where it's like these like very highly visual directors are taking on these
Yeah.
projects that
Yeah.
otherwise would be
And
kind of boring.
I wanted to bring that up too because I mean, when we see trailers like this, a lot of times we'll point out like, "Oh man, that's super Oscar baity," and it it like turns us off. But I was surprised that all of us watched this and thought like right away like, "This looks
Yeah.
amazing."
I was hyped for it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
super hyped.
Yeah.
Sometimes Oscar bait's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yep.
Occasionally.
Yep. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to it. It might clean up at the Oscars, guys. So keep an eye
chance.
out for this one. If you haven't watched the trailer, definitely do so. The other story, we had talked about Spawn previously in a couple episodes ago. Jamie Foxx is going to be starring. Well, he has a new castmate, and it's Jeremy Renner. And he's going to be playing Detective Twitch Williams. Are you familiar with the character?
from the comics?
Great name. Number one.
Twitch
Great name.
is so hot right now.
Which is very smart move to bring them into this endeavor. I'm not super familiar with this character.
Is he a comic book character?
I actually
or-
don't know anything about this character. I'm not big into the Spawn comics. It was always
Okay.
always a little
Gotcha.
too
Scared.
Yeah, I was too spooked, man. Too scared. No, I was always a little bit on the edgy side for me. Not my favorite, not my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Jeremy Renner a lot. Hopefully he can do more in this movie than just shoot bows and arrows.
I think that it's really cool that Blumhouse is pulling like these Oscar-nominated actors, and like
Yeah.
I feel like it's like we're not remembering this is like a Blumhouse film, and it's like typically not, you know, it's not like a huge studio. They do things for cheap and whatever. They're just like coming up and up and up, and now they have Jamie Foxx and Jeremy Renner doing a movie. Like that is incredible. Like
Yeah.
that's a feat, like in
Yeah.
itself.
I think it's probably so appealing for these actors because like isn't like the whole way the Blumhouse model works is like they're making profit off of whatever the
They're paid on
movie
a
makes.
scale
Yeah.
of how much the movie
So like
ends
it's
up
probably
making.
so appealing for them.
What I'm really curious to see is what the budget ends up being. Like, does Blumhouse reach outside of their comfort zone because this is such an ambitious project, something that's going to require a lot of visual effects and stuff like that?
Right, yeah.
Or does Jason Blum do what he's best known for and find ways to cut corners and find ways to keep the budget low? Because whatever the budget ends up being is going to set a precedent for like
Yeah, that's a good point.
how much you can actually spend and get a
Yeah.
superhero movie. So I think that's going to be interesting to see.
I was going through the original, like the 1997
Yes.
version recently. Were you also
Bad.
doing the same?
Yes, yeah.
I was going through
yeah.
it back at the office.
You're gonna bring up the
and-
CGI?
Yeah, the CGI is ridiculous.
Yeah.
For 1997.
It was innovative at the time. It was like,
Was it?
well, innovative. It was
I don't
impressive
know, for
at the time.
1997.
I think that it looked like the thing is it's overwhelming, right? Like it's not just like you see. We were talking about RoboCop before, where there's that effect of like the puppet, giant robot puppet that comes in and kills a guy. There's stuff like that doesn't age well, but you can still kind of like, okay, I can see what they're doing. But bad
Yeah.
CGI ages so poorly
I think-
Yeah.
that it's hard to look at.
I think that movie probably looked good for like a year. And then like, you know, and then it was just like dated because
Yeah.
it's like that it looks so bad now.
It reminded me of the terrible CGI that was in like that Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was like on the same
Not
level.
not that far off in
No.
terms of time period. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
a
why
good
when you were
point.
bringing up like, oh, I wonder if Blumhouse is going to do their like traditional try and save money, cut corners on this and this, and I was like, well, I hope they don't cut too many corners and make it look like that 1990s.
But they're smart about it. Like the
yeah.
example that I've given on this podcast before is that Get Out was originally set in a huge mansion.
Yeah.
And they were like, what if it's just a really nice house? And that saved them who knows how much money because they didn't have to rent out this gigantic mansion. They could just set it in a nice home. You understand, okay, these people are well off. You don't have to make it like a...
That's it.
So like that's just a smart thing to just be like, hey, here's the thing that doesn't affect the story much that we can change and save money and then put that money somewhere else.
Yeah.
Sure.
So hopefully that there's ways in the script that they come up with to do that and still maintain the vision that I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by. I think this movie's going to take people off guard. I don't think people know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Very cool. The other story, Black Widow, we had talked about it in a previous episode as well, that they were interviewing something like 60, 70 directors for this movie. Well, they finally found one, and her name is Cate Shortland.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. I've
she done
never
anything before?
Nice.
She has. I looked up her filmography, and she hasn't done anything huge. She has done features in the past. She did this movie called Lore. It was a World War II drama.
Nice.
So there's that. And she also did this other movie called Berlin Syndrome, and it was a psychological thriller horror.
I think I've heard of.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar. More so
it's
than
like,
Lore.
it's interesting because they're two genres that are completely different.
Yeah. I hope she gets the lore of Black Widow right.
Hey.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, like I mentioned, she has done features, but she's not exactly a household name, not someone you really know of.
Yeah.
But it's it's interesting that they did hire a female director for this female lead driven film.
I'm very surprised that this is happening at all.
Me
Still?
too,
I'm
yeah.
very surprised.
Scarlett Johansson is like not in like favored in the public eye right now.
No, she's not in the
either.
good
Oh, yeah, after
graces.
last-
She's kind of become a meme.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen a few people use her as like an example. Like there was the Thai cave situation right now where
Oh my God! Yeah.
I missed something?
the kids being rescued from the cave.
Yeah, but, like,
someone
yeah.
tweeted out like, oh, they're gonna make a movie about this and she's gonna play one of the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Like
That's
it's just
so bad.
you know what I mean? Like people are like really digging in on her and like maybe unfairly, but like they're she's not in the best public eye, but at the same time, there is the possibility that this is a prequel and they can just find someone who kind of looks like Scarlett Johansson to play a younger version of her.
Yeah.
This is
Because
true.
it's kind of weird to be like, let's build up all this stuff. Thanos is a thing. Hey, you want to watch a spy do some stuff?
Yeah, so toned down.
I don't know.
Yeah, and there hasn't really been any word on whether she is going to be in this movie or not.
Right.
Really.
And I think
so.
part of that
Might be
is
the-
suspect.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you'd think right away we're doing a Black Widow movie, they'd be like, and Scarlett Johansson, can you believe it? So the fact that they've held off on that, I think they're leaning more towards like an origin movie,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
set in the past.
And I mean, not to knock on Cate Shortland at all. I mean, I haven't seen those movies, but if Scarlett was coming back, you think maybe that a bigger director would be coming on board, maybe, or someone with at least a bit more experience.
Interesting. It's within the like track record of the Marvel Studios like method to go after younger and less experienced directors.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is true.
part of that is to get like a bit more like this sounds bad and I love these movies and I don't mean this harshly, but part of that is to have some sort of studio control.
Oh, yeah. They can manipulate them so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to say manipulate, but like if you bring in like a Taika Waititi, for example, who isn't a young, like not young, but like an indie filmmaker, he's going to bring a lot of style to that. And that paid off in the end.
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
example, like an Edgar Wright was trying to make an Ant-Man movie,
yeah.
but he has almost too much character and adds too much style to these
And
movies.
he also like
Yes.
he's been in the industry for a while, so he knows how to like game the system.
Yeah,
a little
Yeah,
bit.
and
He's a
he's made
veteran,
movies
yeah.
on that budget
Yeah.
before. Maybe
Yeah.
not to the extent of like a superhero movie, but he's made big budget movies before. Whereas someone younger, someone less experienced, you can kind of be like, maybe don't put so much of your voice in there. Maybe like
Yeah.
let's stick to the way that the universe feels.
It's true. Yeah.
I also just want to argue your point for a second. We talked about the Harley Quinn movie,
Right.
which is coming out, and it was a
Yeah.
similar situation wherein Margot Robbie is definitely in that movie, but it is a new director. So I don't think
Yeah,
it
that's a
necessarily
very
has,
good point.
has
Yeah.
it's any indication that whether or not Scarlett Johansson is coming back because they
Yeah.
have an inexperienced director.
Oh, that's fair. You got me. I'll admit, you
Sorry,
got me.
just
yeah.
saying.
No, that's fair.
Exposed.
Yeah.
Exposed.
Obviously there's some new releases coming out. Liam, you're looking real forward to this one. 8th Grade.
Can't wait.
Oh,
8th Grade.
I heard it's good.
It's a limited release, but it's still coming out.
This is like probably one of my most anticipated movies of this year.
Your buddy Bo.
My
Yeah,
buddy.
good friend.
I enjoy his work.
You're a big
First
fan.
name.
I'm a big Bo Burnham fan, just like in general. So
Yeah.
the fact that this movie has been long talked about, highly praised since it premiered, was it Sundance, I think?
Yeah.
A while ago.
Yeah.
I just can't wait.
Did you know he had a show on MTV that
Yes.
he directed? I was gonna start watching that.
Yeah.
because I heard
Didn't
it's
last
great.
very long, did
It
it?
was
Yeah.
like
So he-
not even one season.
He has some experience directing.
Yeah, but-
because this is his first feature length.
Yeah,
for sure.
film.
I'm so
Written
glad
and
that
directed.
Yeah.
that he's getting successful as a director.
And the actress is apparently tremendous.
performance.
That is an
Yeah.
emotional trailer. It's,
is.
There's something about that trailer that just gets you in the feels, and it's not even like, oh, look how sad this is.
Yeah.
It's just like so reminiscent of like adolescence.
Everyone
it
has been
captures
through
it.
it.
Yeah.
And just like very modern adolescence
Yes.
too, which is very interesting.
Which we never experienced, but you can still kind of relate to it because there was like the equivalent. Like when they're talking about Snapchat in
Yeah.
the trailer, I'm like, that was like MySpace for our
Yeah.
generation.
MSN.
Yeah.
MSN, yeah, AOL
Messenger.
for you guys in,
All that
in the
stuff.
So
US.
old.
AIM.
There's also Skyscraper, Dwayne the Rock Johnson's
Jumping
big
out of
action
buildings.
movie.
Do you think
That
he's gonna make
movie-
that jump? I've been waiting to see
They
if he's gonna make that
spoil
jump
it.
for months.
They spoil it in the newest TV spot. The whole like the biggest dramatic part of that trailer and commercial obviously is him jumping off the super crane, right? So in the trailer or in the TV spot, they show him jumping off the crane, and then the next scene is him in the building, and his wife's like, "Oh my God, how'd you get here?" "I jumped off a super crane." And it's like, oh, okay, shit. So he made the jump.
Let's be fair.
We
Could be in the
knew he was
afterlife.
gonna
He could
make
be
it.
saying
He's gonna
that in
make
the
it.
afterlife.
Come on.
He's dead.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's
we knew
an
he was gonna
interesting
make
twist.
it. Imagine he jumps and he didn't make it.
Yeah.
Way
That's
better
your
twist.
Everything that happens after that is like
Yeah.
the afterlife.
The family has to save themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the moral of the story. You can't rely on The Rock to show up and fix your problems, people.
Everyone.
Not in my
Yeah.
experience.
So it's another big Dwayne Johnson action movie. Do we think it might unseat Ant-Man?
No,
Ant-Man is so good.
I don't think so.
Go see
Why
it.
she laughs, but I mean, this is
No,
probably
just
gonna make a
'cause
ton of
we-
money.
It is.
We did a review, and I just heard. Never mind. It's fine. It's cool. Wait
Don't
for
tweet
the review
anything
to come out.
because Johnson might reply to you and it might be mean.
Yeah, he doesn't take
Critics
kindly.
don't understand.
He wrote that.
He
Is
seems like an extremely cool guy, but on Twitter he's very defensive
pulling a
of his
John
movies.
Travolta.
He's emotional.
I guess he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Travolta.
Don't come after The Rock's
defending
movies.
his movie on Twitter.
Don't do it.
So those are the two movies coming out. Hope you guys. Well, I don't necessarily know if I hope you guys see it, but those are some of your options. Check them out if you want. And that basically wraps up the show. So guys, thank you so much for watching the CineFiles Extended Cut. And next week we might be doing something a little different as well. I told you the Watch You Watching section is going to be different, but we might do it live. We might do the show live.
We'll do it live.
You might do it
You
live.
guys were in sync
Yeah.
with that one.
We're always in sync.
So yeah, guys, we might do it live, which means that you can join in the comments if that's something you would like to see us do.
Everyone watch
Let us
Mission
know.
Impossible for next Friday.
Yes.
Yes.
We will be talking.
We'll be
Little
reading your
reminder.
comments.
Let's all
You
watch
have
it
not-
together.
I'll be like, hey, Jason123, your take on Mission Impossible is wrong.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to slam the laptop.
If
Yeah.
you don't do your homework, detention for a week.
Oh my god.
Till next episode.
That's
Wrap
more
it up.
reason than any.
yeah.
Watch Mission Impossible.
So to sum up, live show next week. We're going to be talking about the first Mission Impossible. We hope you guys join us. And with that said, we hope you subscribe to this channel if you like what you've seen. And of course, we're in audio podcast in case you don't want to see our faces on iTunes, Google
iTunes.
Play,
Just one iTunes.
and Stitcher. Don't forget about Stitcher. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to our Mojo Talks YouTube channel for the video version of the CineFiles Extended Cut.